Communication 258 requests discussion on the State County Transient Accommodations Tax TAT Working Group meeting held on April 1, 2015, and related pending TAT legislation. From Councilmember Margaret Willey, dated March 27, 2015.
This being our second next to real property, this is our key income stream, or had always been that. The state did raise the TAT from 7.25 to 9.25, but that additional 2% was stayed with the state. So the percentages that we get are out of the base 7.25. So these were all of what I'm going over is what was being discussed at that meeting, because this was the presentation. Basically, the chair and them were asking, well, do these principles still stand up? I mean, do you really, that allocation, I mean, that the counties, this should be their stream and that, and sort of it seemed very reluctantly, the Department of Taxation said yes. But there are 13 members on the committee. Deanna Sacco's on there from our county. I feel it's very state, it's a state group. It's or leaning that way. I am concerned. I think if anything, the funds will go down for the counties, and I think if we don't play some role, the counties don't play a role, it won't bode well.
I did hear the governor state what Ms. Willis put in this report about one of the reasons they withhold or feel that it's proper to withhold is because our state does take care of education, schools, and hospitals, which some counties have to do on their own. And because we don't and the state does was the rationale.
Having paid this tax, and originally the counties had received a bigger portion of the pie. Yeah, we know that. But to see these numbers from effectively since 2008, the state has increased its allocation by over 2,000%, while ours increased by 2.2%. To me, that's really unfair. Not to mention the services that our tourists use. That money comes from tourists that stay in our hotels here in the county. I think we really have to go after these revenues. It's our second, like Margaret said, it's our second largest revenue stream. And to keep forfeiting it over to the state, I think is remiss of us if we continue to allow this to happen, because we need these funds to do public projects for ourselves and for operating expenses. And just to let the public know, hey, it is happening. A lot of these funds are going to the state. And if you want that to continue to happen, if not, then voice your concern.
Yeah, I think one issue is the cap, that we were promised that would be removed. And let me just say, back when in 2009, I actually went over and testified over there, just on my own. And, when they're looking at the state and looking at their income, we all need income. They have to provide education. There wasn't anything about that. But they didn't talk about how the state could bring in more money. It was how, basically, by cutting the unions and taking from the county's TAT, they wouldn't need to bring in any additional funds. So it was sort of the low-hanging fruit we'll take from here, and then all of us raise the other option is then we raise our property taxes, which is residents, okay? So I think it also, for me, shows there's not a good working relationship when even in the committee reports we were to get that back. So we're now capped at 103, that's all counties, but the plan is to reduce that cap even to 93 million, whereas we would have otherwise been sharing 170 million. So I feel that the counties either get their act together and really work on this for next year, or, just plan on either not providing services or having to impose more on the counties.
I'm also glad that Ms. Eoff mentioned the pro-state stance that's been taken by Governor Ige with regard to the TAT. Let's be realistic about this thing. We can talk about this matter until we're blue in the face, but unfortunately, we're the low guys on the totem pole. The state calls the shots. They're playing what I would consider a real dangerous game, a dangerous shell game. If they give us more, then they'll take away somewhere else. There's nothing we really can do. The only thing that I can think of is if we go in for a constitutional amendment. And even if we did that, we still run the risk of the legislature taking away in other areas. I mean, look at our traffic tickets. All of the revenues from traffic tickets go to the state. You would think reasonably, since it's the police force that's enforcing all of these laws, we would get at least a share. We don't get anything. So it's just a really weird situation for all of us. And, it's just a matter of working with our legislators and, hoping that we can at least get some of them to see, our plight. Many of them are former council people, too, so we can work with them.
Other states pay for the education in their own counties through their property tax, and that we should be paying it ourselves, the education. And my argument back to them was that then if the state would take care of their own property taxes, they have so much state land, and pay us, which they don't pay, they're exempt. They use our county police. They don't have state troopers like other states have. So when the statement was made by the governor and this other representative, I thought it was an unfair statement, because they didn't look at the other things that the other states have that take care of their own state. Police, our county lifeguards are down at the state parks. They don't pay for that either. So there's a lot of costs that the state isn't paying, and it's coming off of the back of our taxpayers here. So that TET, that argument they make about education, that's, to me, it's just a way to kind of hide something and try to use something else as a scapegoat of why they're not going to take care of the TAT.
I've been working on the TAT from 2009, okay, and I've heard everything from our legislatures, and one hard part is that they looked at and during the economy during 2009, 2010, at least Hawaii County, and they praise us for that we took furloughs, we did adjustments, we raised our property tax to help, offset the losses that we had and to continue the services to provide to our citizens of this island. But other counties didn't, and that's where they're upset. And then they're upset is that these councils are coming to the legislature and asking for more money. And they were saying, hey, during those bad times, everybody took a hit, but you guys didn't. And so that's what's been kind of going all along every session. And as like Mr. Chung had mentioned about the fines, the traffic violations, we've been, ATSAC, been always trying to push for that, to at least get a portion, because our argument was, we provide the police, we have the prosecutors, they only have the courts. So give us a portion of that. And they would never give it up. And so now we gave up on that already, because it's a losing battle. I think we did that for about 5 years. We put that ATSAC in the ATSAC package. And we would always get turned down. And so, if you look at the past of the state too, they don't want to raise taxes. Okay, so what they do is that they go and they attack special funds, like the hurricane fund that they took, right? And they took different funds, and then they also hit the retirement system. And so they don't want to look like the bad guys, right? But they make us suffer. And then basically what we tell them is that the people on this island and on the other islands, you got to service them too. I mean, we all service. The county services them, the state services them, and the federal government services them. But if you're just trying to hurt the counties, you're also hurting the same people that you're supposed to be servicing. But for some reason, they feel that they want to keep this money. And, it was mentioned that, yeah, there's council members on the state legislature now. And you would think that they would understand because of where they came from and how they suffered. But once they leave that office at the county level, they forget where they came from. And that's the sad part about it. Because you would think, if I would ever go to the state, I would try and see what I can help out the counties. How I can help out my island. And that's what I don't see up there. It's different. It's a different ball game. And so, I think what we're lucky, but this coming fiscal year 15-16, from the $103 million that we got last year, and thank God for Speaker Joe Suki, because he had mentioned that about giving the counties more TAT money in his opening statements at the opening legislature. And so what we did on our island is we made on Rezo as soon as I got back, and we wanted to press on what Speaker had said. So they were kind of like, I guess, like stuck, because the Speaker had mentioned that we're going to lift or we're going to give the counties more money. So they had to give us something. So that's why they gave us $10 million. Right, so it was like, wow, big deal, 10 million, right? From 93 went to 103, but this coming fiscal is supposed to get another 10, so it's supposed to go to 113 million. But then after 2016, when the next fiscal year 16-17, it reverts back to 93 million. Okay. So that's where next fiscal or next session or next two sessions, we got to work on the legislature to either continue improving or increasing that cap, that TAT, the cap, moving upwards, or to, like as Ms. Willie said, eliminate the cap and go like a 50-50 or continue on doing the 44.8%. Right. Now, one last thing I wanted to say is that, yes, they raised it to 9.25. Well, when the economy was bad, they raised it to 9.25, but it was a temporary, that 2%. But 2 sessions ago, the state legislature made it permanent. And when I go up there and talk about it, they always tell me, but you cannot get the 2%, because they're saying that we fought for that. We made it permanent. You folks weren't there to help back us up. Because what happened is the businesses, the hotel industries all fought against that to make it permanent. They wanted it to go back to 7.25, but the state wanted to make it permanent. So I told them, fine. Let's base them on the 7.25, which was the original and what was supposed to be, and we're happy with that. But give us our share. But it's a whole different animal when you get up there. And you guys all know how this is, but it's interesting. I've been doing it for the last 6-7 years, and it's been the same. But Mr. Chung, closing.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, I usually like to let the chair close this thing, but I did want to touch on something that you brought up. And it's really, at the legislature, and I'm not trying to put these guys down or anything like that, but they really believe what they want to believe. They've internalized all of these arguments for some reason, and I think they truly believe it. And it's almost tragically laughable, the things that they come up with. Mr. Onishi, touched upon it, and I've heard it before. They will hold it against the counties for not raising their real property taxes. Oh, you guys aren't doing enough to raise revenues, so why should you guys look to us for help? And, that kind of reasoning, it just shows you why we're in this plight that we're at. But, thank you for, bringing all of that up, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, no further discussions. All those in favor of closing and filing communication 258, say aye. Those opposed?